what is going on with the red pill? Is it dying? Is it going to make a comeback? Your thoughts?
Okay. So in March of 2021, I was on Fresh and Fit, and I think it was like the second or the third time I've been on the show. And the topic that we were talking about was, is the red pill going to go mainstream? I've used this clip of like half a dozen different times on my show and just sort of lead up to the topic at hand here. During that conversation, they asked me, is the red pill going mainstream? And my answer to both of them was, I hope not. Because the red pill, to remain legitimate, to remain useful, to be effective, has to be under the radar. And now we're seeing exactly why I was saying this back in 2021. And as part of that conversation, I said the reason for this is because if people will come into the red pill and they will use the red pill as sort of a loose brand, or it's not a registered trademark. Anybody can use the word red pill. Mm-hmm. And so I was trying to take them back as far as, like, say, 2015, 2016 election cycle at that time. Mm-hmm. So Candace Owens, for example, that you were mentioning just before, her Twitter handle in 2015 was Red Pill Black.
Right.
She was using the term red pill as far back as 2015.
And I'm going to let you go, but there's red pill has been used in the political spectrum, but also in the dating spectrum.
Right, yes. And that's where they picked it up.
But she kind of does crossover with both.
Well, that's because the thing is, when the kids are using red pill, like when that's the topic du jour, the term du jour, and you have a political system that wants to reach out to, like, certain voters. Well, what are the kids saying? If it was MRAs, if it was MGTOW, they would have used MGTOW at that time. If it was red pill, they'll use red pill.
And for the ladies
so red
that
pill
don't
becomes
know,
anything.
MGTOW stands for what exactly?
Men going their own way.
And that's like a black pill. Like, I'm not even dealing with ladies anymore.
The point is like the point is if it's a hashtag and it's a trending hashtag at that time, they will use that moniker for whatever it is that they want to. So if you're alt-right, if you're pro-Trump, if you're MAGA, if you're right now, if you're like an ortho bro or a Christ pill bro, whatever, everything's red pill. Everything literally is red pill. So any person that comes around and wants to take that term and that brand and use it for whatever it is that they're doing, because what they'll do is they'll bastardize the term into meaning like, I'm right, you're wrong. It's a truth that is discovered, right? If you ever watch The Matrix, if you watch, it's a blue pill and the red pill, right? The blue pill is what you used to think was true, and the red pill is what's really true. And so what happens is that if you have some sort of pet ideology and you really are, convicted about your beliefs, that's red pill. So I was trying to explain this to them back then. I said, well, what's going to happen is people will come into this space, especially in the intersexual dynamic space, because when I talk red pill, the first instance of me using the term red pill was on the SoSwap forums in 2004. I've been doing.
Who used the term red pill other than the Matrix?
Well, no, the Matrix really is where it's from. But right after that, we're talking about the forum years when it was like Mystery Method, and it was the alt fast seduction forums.
What year did the game come out with Neil Strauss?
That was published in 2005. So all of the events that happened in that book took place in 2003, 2004, 2002, somewhere in there.
And by the way, obviously, you read that book. You read that book.
I know Neil.
Yeah,
you know Neil.
We just had mystery. They just had mystery on.
I just had mystery on my show.
I mean, a must-read for young men who want to. What are these things called again?
Women.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, we actually call you women too. No, it's like, so what happens is you have to track through the history here, because if you go back to the seduction days, if you go to the old pickup artists from the mid 2000s, like Mystery, Neil Strauss. I mean, VH1 had the pickup artist show and everything, and that evolved into what we now call the red pill.
But wasn't that so? Let me hone in on this, because I asked you if the red pill was dying, and you said there's been.
No, I don't think it's not dying.
Okay, not dying, but you said there's been different.
Well, there's cycles. Okay, so I've been doing this probably longer than anybody else has. Okay,
I mean,
why I said I beyond like say Mystery and some of these other guys, but as far as like the evolution of the manosphere, I've watched this happen for 22 years, 23 years now, and so I was trying to relate to them was the last election cycle during 2019 to 2020. Everybody who was in the red pill space wanted to pivot into politics and into social issues, which is exactly what we're saying right now. So everybody wants to turn the red pill into their social ideology, their pet name for whatever their pet social ideology happens to be. So anything, literally anything right now can be called red pill, because it's just there to appeal to a certain audience.
Okay, but I want to understand one thing, and then I want to get Michael, because Michael describes himself as red pill adjacent. I don't know where Kian is on this, but I know that you help men improve, so I want to get your opinion. The mainstream thing. You could argue that, all right, it went mainstream when Neil Strauss wrote the book. All right, it was a very popular book. kind of mainstream when you're on VH1 or MTV. It's
already
pretty
there.
pop culture. Kevin Samuels kind of made it cool and mainstream. And then, obviously, you've been doing this forever, but then Tate took it to a whole nother level, and even Fresh and Fit.
And they take it,
I guess my argument is it's
commercialize
been mainstream for different iterations, different cycles,
Well,
but now is it officially
you also,
mainstream?
Well, you also have to know that it's evolving with the technology at that time. So back in the pickup artist days, there was no Twitter, there was
Just
no
books.
social media. It was those were the forum years where everybody would get together on a forum and compare notes on that forum. Then it was the blog years, and that's when I started the Rational Mail blog. From there, we go on to into the YouTube years and then the social media, Instagram, Twitter, all that good
and
stuff.
that's obviously how Tate
so
blew
it's
up.
become exponentially, more and more people are aware of it. What I'm saying is that the original, intention of it was strictly, when I talk about the red pill, it's strictly intersexual dynamics. It's female nature, male nature, evolutionary psychology, sociology, anthropology. You've asked me in this show a 1,000 different times, give us the elevator pitch for the red pill. There is no elevator pitch. It is a college major is what it is, okay? It is not a bumper sticker. It's not like, I'm red pill, here it is.
Unfortunately, kids are dropping out of college, and we're seeing that they're getting indoctrinated and not educated.
Exactly.
So as much as it's like, nope, you got to take the whole class, the whole course, someone's like, can I just get the Cliff Notes, bro?
Exactly.
But I get
it. The Cliff Notes are much easier to monetize and commercialize than it is to actually pay attention to what the hell is going
and
on.
then they add a prescription to them as well, right? And that's the biggest
exactly.
difference between you guys and so many other people I've seen in the space. A lot of the people who've got cancelled is you guys don't give prescriptions.
No.
When people start giving prescriptions and they start injecting their own beliefs into those prescriptions, that's where things really go amiss.
That's the difference between best practices and what we're like. The red pill is what I've called a praxeology. It is not an ideology. It is not a philosophy. It is not a belief set. It is not a religion. It is not a cult. It is not whatever your system of belief happens to be. And the reason why people want to turn it into that is because that's the only way they can understand it.
Yeah.
They have to say your philosophy, your beliefs, or you preach. It's never teach. You preach.
Right.
This, right.
like Abba and preach?
Well, no. I mean, as far as like sermonizing,
But
right?
let me get
because
Sartain's
that's the
perspective.
only way they can understand it.
Sartain, Michael Sartain. What I think I like about you guys is you don't always agree on everything.
Yeah.
It's like if you ever see me and PBD, we're constantly PBD, like, it's kind of hard to argue with the CEO, the boss. But I get my licks in. But he's the man. I get it. But you guys don't always agree. And you don't even describe yourself as red pill. You call yourself red pill adjacent.
I am red pill in that it is a
But is the
derivative.
red pill dying?
No. So here's the way it works. It's this phenomenon for anyone who's watching this. Anytime you hear someone say the red pill is dying, notice it is a person who did not like the red pill in the first place. So even though Andrew Tate will say, I'm not red pill, if Andrew Tate says something you don't like, then you put Andrew Tate in the same category with everyone else you don't like. Does that make sense? And now something that some random content creator said that you found to be misogynistic, now you pin that on every single other person. It's really it's almost a form of like it's almost a form of like YouTube bigotry, if you want to call it that. So anything you don't like causes school shootings. That's the way it works. Anything you disagree with. So for instance, because someone disagrees with something that Rollo said, or Rollo said something mean to them on Twitter or X or something like that, therefore all red pill is this. But just notice one more time, whenever you hear somebody say red pill is dead, it's never, when you hear someone in the red pill say it's dead, then maybe you could listen. But whenever it's someone who never wanted it to be fruitful in the first place saying it, then you probably should take that with a grain of salt.
So do you mean Destiny specifically?
I mean, Destiny's one of them, but here's another one.
But also, Allie Drummond was, I met her at the CME with Donovan Sharp.
These are people who don't have the depth of experience to know the cycles and how things go through.
So,
come November 6th, when everybody suddenly is all done with social issues and politics and everything else, trust me, 2025 is exactly when this stuff is going to come right back around again.
I'm going to ask you an interesting question in a second. Go
All right,
ahead.
so you guys understand the concept. Like, it's people who never wanted this to work in the first place. Here's the second thing that's happening. So big tech severely does not like this content, and so they start demonetizing and ratioing certain people. So now they're artificially taking down certain people's engagement, and then they have their talking heads state things like the red pill is dying. So just imagine if I'm at Meta and I'm like, I don't like this content, therefore we're going to ratio this certain type of content, and then we're going to have people who support our side of the political aisle say, do you see that type of content? You see how it's getting less traction? That's because it's dying. That's what's going on.
Michael, do you mean to tell me that big tech would do something like that,
You know-
and shadow ban and push down the algorithm. I don't.
Cancel.
Big tech.
You know what's
Come on, Michael.
You know what's so funny? Like I talk about this is when you overreact to certain things, right? So I think the right overreacts in certain cases. One of the biggest mistakes that the left made, probably in the last decade, was all these different social media platforms deplatforming Andrew Tate in the same
Same
hour.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
That like so for instance,
I
before
was there interviewing the guy when it happened. I remember.
Before, consider this. Before it was
Insane.
a guy saying there's a conspiracy against me, and everybody's like, yeah, sure, a conspiracy against you. Sound like a nutbag.
Yep.
And then he loses all of his accounts from publicly traded companies that have no equity in one another. He loses all of his accounts in the same hour. Now it's not a conspiracy anymore. Now you understand what you're against. So now one more time, we have a type of content that big tech doesn't want to see. They've been open about not wanting to see it. That's why they put him on a DHS watch list. They talk about divert hate and all this other stuff. So we know what their agenda is. That's fine. Everyone gets to have an agenda. There's nothing illegal about that. But now we know what your agenda is. We also know you control the algorithm, which controls traffic. And then you start to ratio that traffic and then have your talking heads state things like, it's dying. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing I want to say is the concept of the red pill is dead is ridiculous because what it is it's a discussion of intersexual dynamics. That can't go away. What they're saying is the things I don't like about red pill, which is like men yelling at women or whatever, that is becoming less popular. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. But my point is, it's like saying that gravity is dead. Where it's like saying that, like after Charles Darwin discovers the concepts of natural selection, now natural selection is no longer popular anymore. Natural selection is true whether or not you believe in it, and so is gravity. And so the concepts of intersexual dynamics, like whether or not hypergamy is real, hypergamy exists even if you don't agree with it.
Yes.
Okay, that's the issue, right? And so from those standpoint, something like that can't die. That is it a derivative of evolutionary psychology? This is why I always talk
can't
about.
die, but they could suppress the views.
That's
That's what happened.
They
By the way, I
they
was there
certainly
with,
do suppress the views.
with Tate, and I remember asking him the question. He said it was Meta, it was Facebook, and then it was Instagram, and then it was
His payment
YouTube.
process.
and
No,
then it
he-
was
I think-
TikTok.
I think
and
he
then it
told
was
me he lost his Uber,
and then
bro.
it was
I was texting Andrew the
Airbnb,
day.
and then it was Stripe, and then I was like, Uber?
Yeah, bro. I was texting Andrew the day it happened.
Yeah.
He told me I lost my Uber. I was like, your Uber? That's crazy, man.
Anyway.
If you're watching this, I have a gift for you. Click the link below and I will send you a private invite to my community. And yes, it's absolutely free.